Hey all, back on the table again. Quick update on the Great Planes Siren. Pretty much finished the build on this now. Said I'd do an update when I got a bit further on with it. What I did was I got all of the bits and bobs I needed together over time and just kept adding them to the box until I had pretty much everything I needed before I started the build. Now it's a lovely looking aeroplane. Can't wait to fly it. Now I've had a real headache with this build. Inside the box it all looked really lovely until I started to put it together, to find that it was almost what I would call a Friday afternoon job, where obviously somebody was in a rush to get home. I'll go into that in a sec. So we've got a 2100 kV Overlander. I think they nickname it the Thumper. Inside there, a bit restricted on space because we've got to have a 28mm bell, so that's why we've gone with an in-runner. In turn, obviously I've had to run a smaller prop. Now we did start with this setup, which some of you might have seen on one of the update vids, which all seemed fine until I went to do some watt testing and ended up with a prop explosion. Decided to go for a full alley spinner with an 8mm root this time. That's a much thinner root. Now the prop I got for this doesn't seem to have a like a knuckle on it that comes out, like a shoulder that comes out, so the blades can run alongside the fuselage. What they're doing is when they're in there, they're not folding much past here, so they're still sticking out at an angle. So we're going to get some more blades with, like I say, with a shoulder that comes round. That should obviously hold with an 8mm. With the 8mm, what do you call this? Root. There we go. An 8mm root. Anyway, got all the servos are installed now in the wings. I've left the horns a little bit long at the moment just because I didn't know what was going to happen with the throws, so I haven't committed myself yet. That was a right fiddle about getting all that lined up and in the wing. And about the trickiest part so far has been this, is getting the servo into the towel. It wasn't so bad bonding the servos in the wings because I'm bonding to the wood inside the wings. However, with the fuselage where it's carbon fibre, I was a bit worried about using epoxy. I read some horror stories about epoxy popping off of carbon fibre, and obviously you don't want to lose the elevator. So I've had to go for a special epoxy here, which is designed for composite jets. It does note down there, obviously it is for carbon fibre, so I've used a bit of that on the servo. I've given it quite a decent footprint to hold it in place. It's not going anywhere, but that again was quite a tricky little linkage to set up because the control horn runs down inside, and you've got to have the the control rod runs down inside, and you've got to have the horn perfectly lined up. But like I say, after a bit of messing around, sorted that out. Now, a couple of little issues I come across was the cutout here for the wing seat, where it goes into the wing seat, was far too small. I've had to carve that out a little bit. Thread, with the captive thread that's moulded inside the fuselage, didn't line up properly with this either, so I've had to mess about with that to get that sorted. Again, the captive nuts inside the fiberglass fin, I'll say that they're captive. I can't move, change or do anything with them. One slightly out, the front one slightly across a little bit, which has created a tiny little bit of off movement in the tail. So it's slightly fixed off. It's not massively noticeable from this tip to this tip, and this tip to this tip. This tip is about, probably getting on for about 8 or 9 mil further away, so the tail's obviously just slightly angled round. Again, nothing I can really do about that. Just have to try and trim it and hope that it's going to be okay. Next thing was the wing balancing. I know it's on the fuselage now, but when I did have the wing off and I was working on it, obviously I put some Mark Central on it and balanced it, and the left wing, I know it's the right side as we're looking at it here, but the left wing on the model is much heavier. It's quite worryingly heavier, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to have to add a little bit of lead inside underneath the cover, I think, just to balance the wing. We've got at the moment we've got 60 amp ESC in there, probably going to put a 75 in there before flight because of the kV of the motor. 3S2200 sitting inside, and that is sitting about there. And putting it on the CG marks, it looks like I'm still going to add nearly 200 grams of weight up the front here, about here. That, or get a much larger battery, say like a I don't know, a 3800 3S or something like that, maybe a 4000 3S. But the problem is the amount of room I've got underneath there. It is very cosy in there. We've got a satellite receiver in there, Spectrum satellite receiver, so we've got an extra satellite box, the normal receiver, the battery's inside there, obviously the battery's about here, the ESC's tucked underneath there, there's a ton of wiring inside it, so I've just got a few little bits in that way to sort out. But as it stands, it's a pretty aeroplane, so I'm really looking forward to flying it. It's just a shame that it's been a real nightmare of a build. Sort of each stages have been taking me an evening, so it's just been one evening after the other just to complete a little tiny section of it. I'm not too sure about the ply. It's got ply spars in it, or joiners, whatever you want to call them. Don't really trust them, so what I've done, I've put a carbon spar in, so I'm sort of a bit more trusting in that than the wood one. Right, so we've got it switched on anyway, so we've got some travel on it now. I haven't set any rates up yet. You don't get a lot of movement on the elevator because the servo horn has to be cut down so much. See if we can get a decent view of that. And there is a little tiny cover there which goes across. Right, there we go guys, that's my thoughts on it. It was a horrid build, but hopefully with a tiny little bit more work, which I need to put into it because I put so much time into it anyway, hopefully will be a nice flyer. All up weight at the moment without the 200 grams in it to balance it, as it weighs at the moment with battery inside, is 2.5 pounds. So right, hopefully next time you see the model should be on its maiden. Thanks for watching guys.